Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sincerely grateful, honored, and feeling very blessed to be in your association today. Thank you all for coming. Truly grateful here at Shri Radhanath's historical, beautiful, spiritually effulgent temple among all of you. You know, I'm thrilled for so graciously inviting you to come. When on behalf of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Prabhupada, and our worshipped acharyas of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Parampara, we will now begin ceremony of initiation. Prior to taking sincere, heartfelt, lifelong vows, at such ceremonies, Srila Prabhupada would have us recite this verse from the Vedic literature. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarvava Samvatopiva Yasmare Whether we are pure or impure, or even passing through all the various circumstances of life, one who remembers the supreme, beautiful, lotus-eyed personality of God becomes purified within and without. To always remember Krishna, to never forget Krishna, is the sum and substance, purpose, and conclusion of all the knowledge of all the scriptures throughout history. But what we are training, praying, and striving for is to remember Krishna in a state of consciousness, living a life that sounds severe Hari Toshana, that will please Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada, when he first began our movement, actually, he was recording his singing and explanations of the Maha Mantra on a reel-to-reel tape recorder. Now, most of you probably don't even know what a reel-to-reel is. But reel-to-reel was real. And that was the highest technology of the time. And someone donated that to Srila Prabhupada in 1965. When he was liberating on the west side of the upper Manhattan. And in his
Everybody move up a little bit, please, a little closer. Come in. There's room, please, move a little closer.
Please turn up the volume on the mic.
We will try. In his description of the Maha Mantra, of the meaning of the mantra and how the consciousness we were supposed to chant it, and also the purpose of chanting. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described there's the satya, which is the goal of life. There's the sadhana, the process in which to move forward toward the goal of life. And the sadhaka, the person who is sincerely striving to follow the practice. So Srila Prabhupada begins his description that Krishna consciousness is the original consciousness of all living beings. He uses the description of when a drop of water falls from a cloud. It is transparent. But due to association of being on the ground, it becomes muddy and loses its transparency. The process of filtering the water brings it back to its natural condition. And similarly, our natural consciousness is what we're striving to revive. And this is the beginning of the teachings of our Bhagavad Gita. First chapter of Gita, there's an incident where Arjuna is, in a certain way, he's in a situation that Krishna has orchestrated in a very extreme way, personifying the predicament we're all in. There's Maya, and there's Krishna. There's good association, bad association. How we deal with pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor, happiness and distress. So many challenges in life. When Krishna wants to teach through a devotee, he often does it in very extreme ways, so that historically they're never forgotten. When they think, Arjuna, this situation is, how am I supposed to emulate that? But both within our own minds and within the life we're living all around us in this world, there's so much opposition to Dharma. How to live our life. So Arjuna was trying to figure out and do it himself. And his qualifications were inconceivably superior to anyone in the world today. Karpanya Tilso Bhada Swabhava. But ultimately he was confused. He did not know what to do. So he turned to Krishna. Now, I don't know anything. I admit, I don't know what is to be done or what is not to be done. I come before you as my Guru. I am your servant. Please instruct me. Actually, Krishna didn't really begin his teachings until Arjuna came to that stage. It wasn't ritualistic that I'm coming before God and Guru and I'm getting instructions. From the core of his heart, there was a sense of urgency. He was in a state of total humility. And Krishna begins, Srila Prabhupada describes, he chastises Arjuna. You are talking all learned words, but actually you're a fool. You don't understand who you are or who anyone else is. Never was there a time when you did not exist, nor me, nor all these kings assembled, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. We are eternal. And Krishna has already chastised Arjuna for seeing things on a material level. So now he's speaking on the spiritual level, that we are all individual. We are all personal. And then the next verse is, Dehinosmin yathavi omaram yavaram tathavi antaratmakyudhyastattaranam. The embodied soul, the consciousness, the living force, the true I, is passing through this physical and emotional body to boyhood, youth, old age, and just as the
the soul is going through childhood, youth, and old age, in the same way, it continues moving through material existence and its various stages by accepting another body after death. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and its inevitable disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of the winter and summer seasons. One must learn to tolerate them and not be discouraged. Krishna tells that one must restrain one's senses and fix his consciousness upon me. That is a person of steady intelligence. That the soul is unborn, undying, primeval, eternal, and is not slain when the body is slain. So this is the basis of the teachings of the Gita. And then Krishna, after declaring the nature of the soul beyond birth and death, describes various paths of yoga, various philosophical principles of how material existence exists and how it works, the nature of God, the supreme cause of all causes, sarva karana karana. The nature of the jiva, the living entity that is mamaya vamsa jiva loke, part and parcel of the Lord, eternally. And how time is affecting us within this world. And the culmination, the culmination of all the teachings of Gita is Sarvadharma Parityashyama Ekam Shranam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarvadhavidya Mokshaya Shamivasa. To abandon all varieties of dharma and just surrender to me. Krishna speaking. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And what is the nature of that surrender? Always think of me. Become my devotee, bhakti. Worship me and offer your homage to me. And Krishna declares a promise here. If you do these things, you will come to me without fail. This is my promise. Now, the absolute truth always speaks the truth. Sarva karana karana, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vikrama. Krishna is the controller of all controllers. Nayabhyakshena Prakriti Sunyate Satchirashya. This entire material existence and all the powers of Maya are under Krishna's control. Satyam Param Dhimahi. He's the supreme truth. When Krishna makes a promise, it is infallible. There's no power within the entire existence that is greater than Krishna's promise. But still, Krishna chooses to be controlled by the love of his devotee. The supreme controller of all controllers. promise for Bhishma because of his love and devotion. But actually, he didn't break his promise because he was keeping a higher promise. In the world, he promised, I won't fight in this battle. But he told Arjuna that I will always protect my devotee. So not to speak of us, sometimes we're put in predicaments of, how do we choose what to do? Even Krishna, he has to break one promise to keep another promise. But actually, he's not breaking the promise in the sense that he's fulfilling the promise on a higher level, on the relative level, because he did protect Arjuna. And he also granted Bhishma the highest perfection. When Bhishma was laying in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, it was in the middle of January. Those who have been to Kurukshetra, it's very cold at that time of the year. And he's just laying there all alone, with arrows pierced through his body from his neck down to his feet. He couldn't put a single finger between an arrow. There were so many. They went through his body, and every arrow was in the ground, coming out the other side. And yet, as far as tolerance, he had the free will to die whenever he liked. He stayed alive in that situation because he wanted to offer his life's mercy to Krishna. And he had total faith Krishna's going to come. And he just lay there for weeks, knowing Krishna will come. I'm his devotee. He protected Arjuna, he will also protect me. Yeah. And Krishna was in the field of Yudhisthira Maharaj and the school of coronation. And he brought them all back to Bhishma. And how Krishna staged him. Here is Yudhisthira Maharaj. He's now the emperor of the world. He's Dharmaraj. He was cheated, he was plundered, he was exiled. There were serious threats, plots to take his life, his brothers, his wife, his mother. And yet he's thinking, all those people who died in Kurukshetra, they caused so many innocent widows, and the children of those people, they're suffering like anything, all just to make me the king. He was blaming himself. Throughout his life, he was forgiving at every stage what people were trying to do to him. Now he's blaming himself. So Krishna brought him to meet Bhishma, because Krishna wanted to glorify Bhishma so much. Even though Bhishma was shooting Krishna with arrows in the battlefield, bhakti is not always a black and white understanding. Love is something between soul and God. It's transcendental revelation. Krishna wanted Bhishma to have the glory forever of pacifying and instructing Yudhisthira Maharaj. But even more than that, he wanted to be there when Bhishma left this world. And after so many instructions to Yudhisthira Maharaj, in Mahabharata, it's a very large body of instructions. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's all a chapter. Shukadeva Goswami is tasting the nectar of this pastime. When when he saw the Makara Sankranti, where the sun was entering into the northern hemisphere, he understood this is an auspicious time. And he stopped speaking and just gazed upon Krishna with tears of love, surrendering everything, glorifying Krishna, and glorifying Krishna's devotees. Bhishma was the type of brahmachari that's very hard to understand. He had the most beautiful queens begging to marry him, and his mother was saying, please do it. No. He could have been king of the world if he got married. Let other people, and persons who became the kings were like Dhritarashtra. Duryodhana was next in line. He kept his vow. And in the last moments of his life, when he's gazing upon Krishna, he's glorifying the gopis. They are the best devotees. In their passion to please Krishna, be Krishna's lover, and dance with Krishna, and embrace Krishna. He's declaring their renunciation to be infinitely greater than his. He's worshiping them, honoring them. Among so many devotees. And then gazing at the beautiful moonlight face of Lord Shri Krishna, by his own sweet devotee love. And everyone assembled, Yudhisthira, the Pandavas, some of the great acharyas and gurus and sages and munis were there, and Krishna himself, they all bowed down to him. And interestingly, when the Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, what did he tolerate in his life? It was a very different situation. Bhishma was a warrior. He was the greatest fighter, the most powerful general in the universe. The most wonderful. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport why Krishna put this Mahajan, one of the 12 authorities of bhakti, why he put him on the wrong side. He wasn't just passively on the wrong side, like I'm on this side of the field instead of the fans on the other side. He was the commander-in-chief of the Kuru army. He was leading the battle against Krishna and the Pandavas. Krishna's he's so dramatic when he deals with teaching us lessons through devotees. And why did Bhishma accept that role? More than anybody. From the beginning of the controversy, he knew that Duryodhana was an envious, adamic person. He knew that Dhritarashtra was completely wrong. And he would tell Dhritarashtra, and he would tell Duryodhana, but he stayed on their side. And after all these years of seeing atrocities, years of exile. He was there on trial, but he was being stripped in front of the most respectable heroes of the world. And yet, when the battle finally came, he became the commander-in-chief, the topmost general, orchestrating the whole battle against Krishna and Pandavas. But in his heart, he was doing it all for the pleasure of Krishna. While I'm telling the story, it's just coming out. You cannot imitate the Maharaja. You can follow in their footsteps, but if you try to imitate, you destroy it. Srila Prabhupada explains. Because without the explanation of the scriptures through the acharyas, it's the great souls who understand the depth of what Krishna's teaching us. We can easily just be confused or even misled. Srila Prabhupada wanted to teach. Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna wanted to teach a most striking, extreme lesson that would reverberate throughout history so that we would take it seriously. Actually, this story, we should all be crying like that. Swami Maharaj is helping us saying we have lost our ability to express ourselves. But we're trying to revive it for the right purpose. Krishna wanted to teach those who are offending the Lord's devotees and who are against the principles of Dharma. However great, powerful, wealthy, famous, or learned you may be in this world, in due course of time you will be defeated. Therefore, he put Krishna, the greatest, he was an undefeatable fighter. He could not be killed. He was never defeated. And he was so learned. He fought Harasaran for like many days, and Harasaran couldn't defeat him. And Bhishma, out of etiquette, wouldn't defeat him either, because he's God. He's an avatar. But yet, Bhishma was defeated. Such a striking example. Doesn't matter how much money, power, knowledge, or anything. If you're treating the Lord's devotees and you're representing a dharma, it's just a matter of time. Manmana Bhagavan. Surrender. That is the conclusion of Bhagavan. By always remembering Krishna and becoming a devotee of Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami of Prayagraj, and Srila Sanatana Goswami in Kashi, Varanasi, he began his teachings with that same truth of who we are. What is our nature? The spirit soul, the eternal soul, is passing through many, many species of life, births and deaths, millions. And eventually, comes to the human form of life. The will of God. It's very rare. And when we have this human form of life, the rarest and most precious thing is the association with devotees, where we learn who we really are and what our real purpose is. And then we approach a spiritual master. And we hear, we learn, and we follow. That's the spirit of initiation, to commit our lives to hear and to follow. Yasya prasada bhagavad prasada. When we please our Lord, we please Krishna. By the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru. By the mercy of Guru, one gets Krishna. In Sanatana Goswami's teachings, Sanatana Goswami, like Arjuna, he was so learned, he was so wealthy, he was so influential, he was powerful in every way, but he left all that behind. And he comes to Lord Chaitanya and bows at his feet and says, actually, I don't know anything. I'm the most fallen. I'm the most sinful. I'm lost. Maya's so strong, I'm so weak. People call me a great pundit because I'm so learned in their estimation, but actually I don't even know really who I am. Or what I'm supposed to do. Please instruct me. Sanatana Goswami was the most, he was perhaps the most learned person on the planet. He knew all the Shastras, the scriptures. He was famous. I'm sure all describes. He's not just saying this because that's what you're supposed to say. He's speaking from his heart. This is the way he's feeling. And if we don't actually feel that way, we can't really receive transcendental knowledge. We can't actually surrender. Radhanath, we cannot take shelter unless we feel at the core of our being the need for shelter. And how does both Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begin his teachings? Jivara Swarapoi Krishna. The nature of every living entity, every jiva, is we are eternal servants of Krishna. Jivara Swarupoi Krishna Nityadas. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada say Nitya Krishna Das. This word Das, Nitya, I am eternally the servant of Krishna. That's how he begins his teachings. Who I am, I'm eternal. And I'm not just an eternal being. I'm not just a part of God, and I'm not just a manifestation of God. I am an eternal servant of the Lord. And then he describes the whole science of being an eternal servant of the Lord, and he brings it to the culmination of, beyond all of the various achievements of this world, of the universe, beyond the inconceivable peace of being in the Brahman realization, is the nature of being a servant. Feeling Krishna's love and serving to please Krishna as well. Vaikuntha is a place of eternal service. And beyond Vaikuntha is Goloka Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brings this idea of das, or servant, to the level of the cowherd boys who are playing with Krishna as a friend. Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj who are loving Krishna as their own child. How is this possible? They have fully realized that Krishna is the Supreme Personality. They have fully realized Brahmiti Karamatmiti Bhagavani Dishachati. That the Lord is seated in the heart of every living thing as the witness. That the Lord is the all-pervading Brahman, the all-pervading light. And the source of all is Bhagavan, the Supreme Person. They've realized all this. But in their surrender and in their love, Krishna, by his own will, desires to enjoy with them and desires them to enjoy with him in such an intimate way that their full realization of Krishna as the supreme absolute truth, the cause of all causes, the personality of Godhead, the Aishwaryasya Samagrasya, he possesses all opulences in full. He's the proprietor of everything that exists. All beauty is coming from him only. All knowledge, all strength, all fame are coming from him only. And yet his renunciation, although he's the proprietor of all opulences forever and full, and the source of everything, still he subordinates himself to a devotee's love. Imagine. It's like the sun planet subordinating itself to be under the control of a single sun ray. Is that conceivable? That's what's so nice. It's inconceivable. Bhakti is actually inconceivable. We can understand some verses, we can understand some logic and all of that, which is very, very important so that we're dedicating ourselves to the proper goal. But the more we understand it, the more we realize how inconceivable Krishna's mercy really is. The sun planet becoming a humble servant, feeling subordinate to a sun ray. And how many sun rays are there? And Krishna is willing to do that for every living entity that loves him. But it begins with this understanding that I'm not this body. I'm not all the designations of the body. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. And to make our choices and follow the path of life according to what is in harmony with the will of Krishna. Just this morning I was listening to a recording of Srila Prabhupada. And it was, I believe, in Melbourne, Australia. And he was describing what Dharma means. He said, people and dictionaries describe Dharma as duty or occupation or religion. But actually Dharma is the inseparable character of our nature. And as spirit souls, the inseparable nature of our character is to serve. To serve a superior power. Or to serve because that's just our inherent need. A father is working to serve the family. A mother is serving her child. Even here in the temple, when the child starts talking, the mother or crying, the mother serves, serving us too. But how wonderful, this little child is so helpless, and yet the mother is serving the child. It's incredible how in love a superior power becomes subordinate to the desires of someone who's completely dependent. When a little baby cries, the mother is in every way, materially and emotionally, 100% superior to the child. The child is 100% dependent on the mother, in the worldly sense. And yet the mother's staying up late at night, whatever all of you mothers know what you do. We Swamis, we just like to talk about it. You have to leave the class because the child is crying, and the father's out working to feed that little baby. So you become subordinate to serve those who are the most dependent on you. And that's a philosophical truth. There is one supreme being, Krishna, who is eternal, the Lord Master of everything that exists. And there are innumerable living things, the jivas. And we are all completely dependent on the one supreme being. Srila Prabhupada, I think he was here, it was like the 200th anniversary, the 4th of July of the independence of America. And he said, we are declaring our total dependence on God. Just yesterday, he reported, he was in Vrindavan, I think, and he was explaining this idea of independence and dependence. He said when he first met his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, on Opulences Junction Road in Calcutta. That's the address because it's devotees have restored that place. Did you go there, Mara?
Not yet, but I need to go.
I haven't been there since they reopened it and they installed deities very identical to the original Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur worshipped. But in that place in 1922, Srila Prabhupada bowed down on the rooftop. First time he ever met with sadhu, and he got the order. You are educated young man. Bring the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the Western world, to the whole world, in the English language. Srila Prabhupada was wearing the uniform of a follower of Gandhi. He was wearing cotton. That was a political statement. And he knew that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati saw he was a Gandhian. He's telling me this. So he said, how can we be respected by the world when we are subjugated by the British? First we need independence, then we can do it. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that political parties and all of these various external situations are always changing in this world, but the one supreme truth is that we're eternal servants of Krishna. The real problems are birth, old age, disease, and death. And this can never wait for any other situation to change. So in this talk, Srila Prabhupada was saying that when he was fighting for independence, his idea was that America is the beacon light of independence. Because for all historians, we know that America was in the same situation as India. They were under the British Empire. They were subjugated by the British kings or queens. And they had to pay all kinds of taxes and everything like that. In other words, the country's being exploited for another invading force. So America is now such a democracy, it's won the Revolutionary War, it's an independent nation, and that was like the propaganda of the world. America is the symbol of independence. And Srila Prabhupada describes, he comes to America in 1965. It was the time of the Vietnam War. He said all these boys were getting drafted. He said, you come and you join the army and you go to this foreign land and you fight and kill people and risk your life to be killed. And if you don't do this, we will put you in prison. This was the American Prophet came to. There were protests, there were riots, there was so much, about the Vietnam War and civil rights. Srila Prabhupada came right in the heights of the civil rights movement, the Vietnam protests of the counterculture. And Srila Prabhupada, in India, nobody told us we had to fight a war or we're going to be put in jail. He was thinking, what is the use of this independence? The citizens are dependent. We're all dependent people, whoever we are. And ultimately, we're depending on Krishna. And yet, the cowherd boys, Sridhama, Sudama, Stoka Krishna, Subala, Radhamangala, all these cowherd boys, Krishna wrestles with them. And Sridhama declares to the whole Vrindavan, I defeated Krishna last night. Krishna's so happy. Yes, he defeated me. Yashodamai is chastising Krishna, binding him with ropes along with waist. He can't go anywhere. Krishna is supreme. He's Abhidya and Swarat. He's supremely all-knowing and totally independent. He's the only person in all of existence that's totally independent. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti mattvavajane mam buddhavasana. I'm the source of all spiritual and all material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my loving service and worship me with all their hearts. And yet, in the spiritual world of Goloka, Krishna covers the knowledge that they already have of their supreme nature, so that they can have the most intimate exchange with him from the Vrindavan point of view, unmotivated, uninterrupted love means we're not even motivated that he's God. At the beginning we have to, our love is because you're God. We're worshiping you above everyone else. We're watering the root of the tree so that the whole tree, if we neglect the root, the whole tree will be diseased. So you are God. Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam describes how Krishna is God. Narsingadev, Varahadev, Mahavishnu, Karunadakshay, Vishnukshay, Garbhodakshay, Vishnukshay, Dakshay. This is God. The Vishwarup, the universal form. Before we worship, we surrender. Krishna covers that knowledge, that awareness, so that you're my friend. I could love you freely as a friend. And Srila Prabhupada describes, from the Vrindavan perspective, this is unconditional love. It brings the idea of unconditional love to such a higher level. First, unconditional love is I love God without any motive, without any interruption. And now, even if you're not God, I still love you without motives and interruptions. That is Vrindavan. And the culmination is gopis. All other rasas, all other experiences of loving service to the Lord are included within this Madhurya rasa. And the culmination of that is Sri Radharani's love for Krishna, and Radha's and Krishna's love for Radha, the ultimate source of all love. So this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was describing the progress of Jivara Sora Krishna and Nityadas, were servants of Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada is describing dharma, that we all must serve. I almost forgot to get back to the analogy I was trying to explain. Usually I do it. I forget. He's describing dharma as the nature, the character of every living being is to serve. We're serving dependent powers. We're just those who are dependent on us, and we're serving the higher powers. We have to follow the laws of the state. If we don't, we're punished. Srila Prabhupada explains either we're serving as good citizens or we're in prison. Serving in that way. But we have to serve. And when we're going through this physical and emotional experience, we're serving our desires. Because the mind is a material element. We're serving our mundane mind's desires. We're servants. The soul is independent. The soul needs to serve something, somewhere. When we're under the misconception on this body and mind, we're serving our desires. And we're serving our bodies and our needs and all those things connected. Whether you're an insect or a bird, I use a bird because we have graphic experiences of it. Or whether we're a dog or a cat, we have graphic experiences, or whether a human being. Your body needs to eat. Yes? The eternal soul is serving the body by trying to get food. We're cold. The body's demanding warmth, so we're serving the body for warmth. And after we're nice and warm and we have a good meal, whatever species of life, whatever race, whatever religion, whatever anything, nature calls. That is the Vaishnava way of saying you have to go to the bathroom. The birds. I was just at a place where they have many, many peacocks. And they were saying, peacocks are so beautiful. But wherever they go, in our community, we have to clean up after them. So even the most beautiful peacock that's full of colors is still responding to nature's calls. So what does that mean whenever we respond to nature's calls? It means we're servants of our body. We have no choice. And we have to succumb to old age, disease, and death. This is all. We cannot for a moment be inseparable from service. That's Dharma, to serve. And Sanatana Dharma. The Sons of Atapum Virvidus Padeshtas Varnashrama Nivarnashashurustas Dharmas and Sons of the Whatever our social or spiritual role may be in society, whatever designations we may be living with, the success and the goal is to serve Krishna in such a way that he's pleased. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took this highest truth to even a higher level. If we really want to serve Krishna to please Krishna, we will identify ourselves as the servant of the servant of the servant, the honorable and great servant of all servants of the Lord of the Gopis. That is how to approach Vrindavan. That is the true meaning of Sanatana Dharma. The eternal nature of the soul is not just to serve, but to serve the Supreme Lord, Krishna, with love. Prema Pumartamahan. Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya gave us this principle that we orchestrate our whole life on. The only real goal of life is to love Krishna. And actually in that recording this morning, there was questions and answers, and somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, what is the goal of life? And Srila Prabhupada said, to love Krishna. That is why we're taking initiation. For that purpose. Krishna promised Arjuna, and Krishna promised all of us, that those who follow this path of bhakti, those who become my devotees, those who surrender to me, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer homage. You will come to me without fail. This is my promise. The chanting of the holy names of the Lord and Sravana, hearing the glories of the Lord. Shravana is the beginning of bhakti, to hear, to open our hearts with a sincere sense of urgency to hear. And Kirtana. Srila Prabhupada describes that Kirtana means chanting the holy names, dancing with instruments. Japa is Kirtana. And describing Krishna's glories is Kirtana. Sukadeva Goswami described Srimad Bhagavatam, and he's a perfection of Kirtana. Hearing and chanting is the basis. And then we have the right mind, we have the right goals defined to remember Krishna. Sravana Kirtana.